Good morning. This is Sam Simon, also known as Dementia Man, and this is Sunday, May 25th, the Sunday before Memorial Day, and this is a special alert podcast. The New York Times this morning, on its front page, has an article exploring something that I had been aware of very early on, and it is the explosion of a clinic. I was going to say a series of clinics associated with something called the Bredesen method or protocol. A Dr. Bredesen, he has a book out a while ago called The End of Alzheimer's. Hard stop. Alzheimer's is not curable. Hard stop. Alzheimer's is not curable. Okay. Now that we know that fact, I wanted to hope that you all might be able to see that article. I'll have a link on the website, Dementia Man. Though if you Google or do search for Bredesen and New York Times or Bredesen method, you might actually be able to get a link to the article. There is no cure to Alzheimer's, period. What there is, just to be fair, and this is a different take than I originally thought I would have, there are ways to slow cognitive decline in anyone for whatever reason, whether normal aging or many diseases. There are techniques that have the potential of slowing decline. So in my own case, for example, I was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's in 2022. My doctor said it could be 5 to 10 years before it gets a lot worse. So to begin with, I have some time before I am that blank face staring into the sky, potentially. And there are ways to make that 5 to 10 years better than if I did other things. It'd be the same for almost anyone. If I used to smoke, I don't, but if I started smoking again, my cognition would be worse. If I didn't work on puzzles, for example, and by the way, there are puzzles available on my website, I might do less. There are techniques, and by the way, and I'm going to come back to this, the most important factor in keeping my cognition as high as possible as I go through this disease is to have meaning and purpose in my life. So my prescription for you, if you're worried about it or thinking about it, is find meaning and purpose in your life if you happen to have a cognitive disease. Alzheimer's is one of them. The clinics, though, that are being licensed and popping up all over the nation with Dr. Bredesen's name are using the keto diet and a series of vitamins and outlandish claims. And in the New York Times article, there's an example of a family who in, I think, 3 months spent $25,000 on it. Don't do that. Just listen to Dementia Man, go onto our website and get the puzzles. And but I'm alarmed, and I've wanted to get this out as urgently as possible. Please read the article. I have been consistent in warning about fraudulent claims around dementia and around Alzheimer's. It is getting a diagnosis of a non-curable disease is devastating. And it took me a while. I'm no exception. And yet I've happened to be just who I am, an advocate. My life has enabled me to do something extraordinary. And I am deeply thankful for that. And it's a form of giving back. And most importantly, no matter what, do your best, go into legitimate medical drug trials. And in your journey with this disease or any disease, see how your journey can also be benefit to others. So I have been in a drug trial. I hope to be in others. I volunteer for studies of the brain that I can qualify for. Why? Because it's a way to give back as I go through something I didn't choose. Luckily, I'm older. I'm 79. I was diagnosed when I was 77. And who knows how many years I have left. But that's also true as we age. The question, the challenge, the opportunity is to do something meaningful with our lives. And I'm having fun. I wrote a play. God knows whoever thought Sam Simon would be a playwright. And I am. And I wrote a play and I'm performing it. And it is the most fun, most meaningful, most important thing I've ever done in my life. And what do I have to thank for that? A terminal disease. So I could go on. I'm going to stop. I wanted to get this out there and encourage you to read the article. Be very careful. Yes, volunteer for drug trials and medical trials if you want to, but live a life of meaning and purpose. And I think, I don't even know how to say it. You should look at Bredesen if you want to, but I hope that we are going to get a lot of government and reliable agencies. A number of the Alzheimer's associations will caution you about Bredesen. They're very, very expensive. And so read the New York Times expose on it today, in today's New York Times, Sunday New York Times. And if you'd be in touch with Dementia Man, I'll send you a link. I have a subscription and I can share the article. So that's another way. Be in touch with me, Sam at dementiaman.com, and I'll be glad to get you the link. All right. And finally, it is Memorial Day weekend. I did serve, by the way. I am a veteran. My brother-in-law was a retired major general. Luckily, we have survived. We do know people. We had close friends who lost family in recent wars. One of my best friends, in time as a rabbi, the late Richard Sternberger. I'll tell you this story. The late Rabbi Richard Sternberger was a Navy chaplain. He was deployed in the Korean War. And he tells a story, having been in combat as a chaplain, and he was Jewish chaplain, but you're chaplain to everybody. And he had found himself holding a young Christian Catholic man as he was dying, and the man asked for last rites. And Rabbi Sternberger was educated enough and gave those last rites so that that person could die in peace. So we all have a lot we still can do to honor those who have gone and help families maybe who are still struggling over the years, or trying to remember and honor those who have served. So again, finally, thank you for following me, and check out the New York Times.